Welcome to a new episode of the Cool Girls Create podcast. It's your favorite creative host, and I'm here with a very special guest. So, if you don't know, the Cool Girls Create podcast is your go to source for creators and entrepreneur women. We have self reflecting conversations and just a good overall time. So, are y'all ready to meet my special guest today? I know. Welcome, Tegan Mingo. Welcome, girl. Hey.
Hey, I'm glad to be on here. I was actually looking really forward to this.
Yay, me too. So, Tegan is a television news film producer, right? So, we're going to get into all the things about news production, but also how to pitch yourself to the media from a producer's perspective. So, I'm excited about that. Before we get into all this conversation, I like to start with an icebreaker. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm a little nervous, but yeah.
Okay, so if you could rewind to any time, past or present, when it comes to a news segment that was out there, what news segment would have want to be a part of?
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay. I have to say the freak. Ooh, any like weather coverage, I would say. I'm trying to remember exactly which ones. Like when we had the really bad storm, what was it, like the 2020 like tornadoes or something like
Oh,
that?
yes, in Nashville.
Um,
Mhm.
Um, but like I started in 2021, but I was like, dang, I wish I started a year earlier because seeing that coverage was amazing due to the fact I feel like it would have gave me a beautiful opportunity to not like just produce inside a building, but to go out and do film coverage to get a different angle to tell reporters what to do and just like seeing other things from a different lens because sometimes they're just like trying to get out like I'm describing, but this like the third, like I would want to be a part of that just because of being able to kind of get a little twist on different things, other things that the viewer wants to see, because I'm technically viewing the finished product. So a lot of times, they like the people who are in front of the camera are thinking they're in the action, like this is what people want to see. But like there just needs to be another element to it. And just because I want to say like I was out there, I don't be in front of the TV. Like I want to be in front of TV now. But like to be like, okay, I need you to 3, 2, 1, like let's go. Let's go. Like I need you to get low, pick up, like just like anything like that. And then we just had a really bad tornado recently.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
It was horrible. Okay, pause. Pause. Let me pause it. All right. So, if you could rewind time and go back to any point in news segment history, what moment would you want to be a part of?
Weather coverage is my favorite. So December 2023 tornadoes recently that hit in middle Tennessee or just in Tennessee in general. Um, it's different being behind the scenes, but I want to field produce because I feel like I'm missing all the action. Like to tell the reporters like, hey, I need you to go here. Like I need you to like this. Because I'm technically not just the only person producing the show at the time. I'm also the viewer. So I kind of get both sides of it versus being like, dang, like I wish I could be like, hey, move here. And I can do that, but like they get a delay when they hear me sometimes. So or it might be bad signal. So if I'm out there and I'm like, yo, like give me the camera at this point. Like you're not doing what I need you to do. Like get this angle. Like they need to see exactly how much damage and how much coverage, like how much of an area this covered. They need to see that we're bringing it to them like first and foremost. They need to see exactly why this is important, not just like, okay, yeah, we did some damage and this might mess with your commute and you might not go to school tomorrow or you might go to work, but like just really getting the nitty gritty of stuff and then really just kind of wanting to study just like the changes and all this. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so like, we could talk this all day, but like just the changes on how that happened and just like how extreme it was and like how the preparation beforehand and what we thought it was and like what has changed or something like that. But just really getting to from being behind the scenes, but really making sure I'm in it, like taking it
Mhm.
to the next level per se. if that
Right.
makes
Yeah, with the coverage itself. Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely understand. So you were discussing a little bit about news producing, and I definitely want to dive into that in general because I'm so curious and excited to talk to a producer, right? But before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit about your background. So I know that you are from Texas, but tell me a little bit about where you're from and kind of how you got to Nashville.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm from Dallas, Texas, but I'm from a suburban, like a suburb called Plano or like Wiley or Murphy area. So people might be like, "That's not Dallas." I don't care what you say. I rep my city. So like, I was born in the Dallas hospital. My family's in Dallas. I go everywhere. I'm gonna rep it. So, but I grew up in an area called Murphy, and then went to a school called Wiley High School. I was a street over from going to Plano East, which is really this like big high school, whatever. So just grew up dancing, just really connecting with my community and all those things. And then senior year, senior to junior year, I was doing graphic design. I thought I was going to be a graphic designer, just letting my creativity flow, just working for my school district, just like, oh my God, I love this. Like, this is seeing my art in a like a digital sense. And then I was also like speaking at games when I wasn't dancing on the field. I was doing announcements, I was doing all these things, and I was like, okay, like cool, like where am I gonna go to college? Like, and my mom was just like, "Well, you talk a lot," and I was like, "Do." And so she's like, "Maybe like mass comm, like maybe television." I was like, "Oh, that's a career." Like, yeah, okay, okay. She's like, "You could do like a double major with your graphic design." So I was like, "Okay, like sure, like let's do it." So it was like, "Okay, now where am I gonna go, university wise?" And I was like, "I don't want to leave the state." Like my mom was like, "I want you to go to an HBCU," and I was like, "Okay, but do the HBCUs have what I need?" And I'm not saying that all they don't. It's just for me, like I need a certain distance. I need to be able to drive. I didn't have my car my first year, so like I needed to make sure like I can make those connections. And like if I was in a bigger city, am I going to be able to get around? Just like all those things. So I went to Stephen F. Austin State University, not a HBCU, PWI. I think UT owns it, like it's a branch of UT now. So I would say hook 'em, but they're lumberjacks, so like whatever. But went there, fell in love with the program. I toured and did a private tour of the television radio side. And then when I had an orientation, I saw graphic design. I was like, y'all are doing a little too extra that I can do freelance, I can learn on my own, that I don't have to have the same experience of going through school with. I think television and radio is like where I need to be at. Um, and they were promising me like, hey, you're getting in the field right away your freshman year when you step on this campus. It's not like you wait junior year or senior year. They had everything I needed. And I was like, well, let me see if I can fall in love with this. At first I wanted to be in front of like in front of the TV. I think everyone does. Like they're like, I think I have the look, I have the personality, like, whatever. I was like, I want to go in entertainment. Um, and I was the face for a lot of the news or television shows at my school. So people knew, like, oh, wait, that's you that I saw, or that's who I heard you on the radio in the middle of the night. Like, yeah, that's me. Even though I'm like, I try to kind of be under the radar, but people say like it's kind of impossible with my personality. So I'm like, hey, like, okay, cool. And just like when fell in love with it. That school, Stephen F. Austin, is in Nacogdoches, Texas, and East Texas. Ain't nobody gonna know where that's at. Just know it's like an hour away from Shreveport, Louisiana. So did 4 years there, dedicated like waking up early mornings, doing the extracurricular programs that were still in the department. Dancing in a fashion show organization I was in, working for the Office of Multiple Affairs, like anything I could do to make sure I can help my community and like tie in everything that I love to do. That's what I did. Um, and I learned how to be in front of the camera, behind the camera, to direct, to edit, the radio person you needed. Every what?
Okay.
All right. So, just falling in love with those elements. I was doing film in front of the camera, directing, editing. I was the radio person. I was learning how to mix music. I was like, girl, I might be a DJ. Like, I was just doing anything you could do. They really taught me that. They even taught me PR, marketing, social media. I basically did what they call it as a super major instead of a double major, which means I focused on everything in my department. So I was studying social media, I was studying marketing, like everything, just in case, because I didn't know. Like, what if I want to go in a different avenue? Like media is such a vast space. So I was just kind of like, okay, cool, And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, am I gonna have a job? What's up? I'm about to graduate. My last semester was taken from me. I graduated in May 2020, and I crossed the semester before. I'm an AKA. Or that's Alpha Kappa Alpha. If anyone doesn't know, first finest.
Okay,
But
okay. You better
but
rap, girl.
I basically, crossed and all those things, and I was just kind of like, okay, what's next? I'm always a planner. I'm kind of type A, not fully, but I was just like, all right, cool. And my professor, who was also my grad advisor, hit me up probably in April and was like, hey, Tegan, you're graduating, right? And I said, I hope so. Like, you just, I don't know. Like, and he was like, yeah, you're on track. Like, and I was like, okay.
Rewind that back a little bit. Your voice cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, so
He reached
my
out to
professor,
you and said,
yeah, he reached out to me, and so he hit me up like, "Hey, Tina, you graduating?" I said, "What?" Like, "Yeah, I would hope so. You're my advisor." And he's like, "Yeah, you're on track." And so I was like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "Do you want to do television, radio, right?" And I was like, "Well, that's my main focus, so I would hope so." And so he was like, I know you want to go to Dallas. Like, know you want to be back with family, but there's this opportunity in Tyler, Texas. And so I was like, okay. He's like, it's for a producer position. I was like, what is that? And he's like, what you've been doing all 4 years. And I was like, oh, I thought I was doing something I loved. Like, and so he's like, I think that you can do that. And I was like, you really think I can do that? Like, I knew what a producer was, like always just studying, but it's different from knowing the definitions that you study in school to actually doing the job. I didn't know how big the role was until it was taken on. So I applied at KTK, which was my first job. It was NBC slash Fox affiliate. Owned by Nexstar. So like I was like, okay, cool, like, all right. And I was waiting to get back, but they just hired somebody for that position. So like, you know what, we think you'll be good as an assistant producer. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm willing to take the experience, just see how I like this, see if I can get this going. Was in that position for 3 weeks and got promoted to having my own show. I was the box producer for overnight. So it was a really big job because I was like, I just started, I'm learning. Like, this is completely different from college. Like, what is happening? And I would joke and be like, you know what, I feel like I could do this show. And they're like, throw me into the fire. I'm like, no, like I was joking. Like, what are you doing? And so it was really a lot of like getting the ground running. And I was there for a year. And I just made a reel of my experience just to celebrate my first year in the industry. Didn't think anything about it, just put it on YouTube, just did my little hashtags as like my reporters and stuff were telling me. So I was like, okay, cool. And that's when news stations were hitting me up from all over the country. So I was like, whoa, relax. Like, what are you doing? I'm not leaving Texas. Like, there's no reason to leave Texas. Tyler was an hour and a half away from where I lived. So I could get off at work at 9 and go get lunch with my mom or do dinner with my dad and do my doctor's appointments. It was just still like there, like not ideally where I would want to be, but I still had those relations. So that's why it worked out so perfectly fine. And then Nashville happened to reach out to me, and I was like, Nashville?
I know.
I
Don't be looking like that about Nashville, though.
like, what? But I had like Dakota, like I had all these places. I was like, why would I go there? Like, and I felt that I need to grow for sure. So it was kind of like, okay, God, where do you want me to take? Where do you want to take me? And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, like Nashville, like reached out to me. It's one of like the number, like this is the number it is in the market, like, whatever. And he was like, oh my gosh, Tegan, I went to school there. I went to TSU. Your grandpa went to school there. Your grandma went to Fisk. Like, like that's how they met. That's their love story. And I was like, oh, well, maybe God is showing me like that. Like I had so many different transitions. Like I was growing apart from like my closest friends in high school, and I just happened to get out of a relationship. So I was like, I need a new stretch. Like I need something new. And it was like I want to advance my career while also trying to grow, just like let me see if I could find myself type situation. And so I was like, you know what? Like let me do the interview. I did a series of interviews like within a week. And they hit me up and they're like, can you move here in 3 weeks? And I was like, you know what? We're gonna make it happen. And my family and I and my dog, we packed up and we drove to Nashville from Texas, the nice little 12-hour drive, and we made it here right before Labor Day. Again, I moved here September 1st
What
and
year?
start of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I started my job on September 7th of that
Okay.
year. So like literally, and I was hired as the weekend producer for the morning. So still the overnight shift, something I was used to. And then a few like we were trying to figure out what I was doing during the day. So I would kind of do like the midday show, which is like the 11 to 12. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then the guy who trained me, he happened to be leaving. So they needed a producer for the morning show during the week. So I would also do the mornings during the week. So still overnight shift, just a little switcherooty. And I didn't realize like how much growth I needed to do to catch up because it was a big jump. Like Tyler, Texas is market 110, and like at the time it was market 110, and I believe at the time the station that I'm at currently now, I work for WSB4. I believe it was like 26. And so like that was a huge jump in the news industry to make and with a year of experience. But I had people teaching me and like, hey, like, you know, this is like, something that you're like, you already have the experience. So
Well,
yeah.
I do have a question. So when
With
you
that,
say, 110 to 26, are you talking about like their position in the market as far as
yeah,
the experience you have to have, the quality of the work, going from maybe like small town to like bigger news?
yes. So last time I checked, there's 210 markets. So Tyler, Texas was a good place to start in the industry, like a good starter station. They would usually get, schools would feed into it. Like, it's kind of like, a non like signed contract. We look for you, like, whatever. And so it's kind of like, you do your dues there, but I wasn't under contract. So that gave me the freedom of like if I was staying there, I stayed there because I felt like my growth needed to be there and I can leave whenever I want to. As I said originally, I wasn't planning to leave Texas, but I just prayed about it. And I was like, maybe this is what I need. Maybe I need to experience some other things. I didn't travel as a kid as much. So maybe it's going to be a different worldview to make me appreciate where I'm from, but appreciate other people. And then Nashville hitting me up, I was like, what are they seeing in me from going from a 110 market of a year of experience? Like, what did I produce and put out here that they're like, yeah, this girl needs to be on our team. And so, as I said, I was green. I was so green, and that's fine. Like that's just what it takes when you're learning your career. But they were like, okay, like yeah, you got a lot to learn, but your drive and your willingness and just like how persistent you are, we got it. Like you got it, and a lot. Yes, you have a question.
Yes. So I was just gonna say, let's talk a little bit more about the day to day because you mentioned it earlier, but from the outside looking in, say as a business owner or someone that just watches the news, we are very familiar with the news anchor, right? That's the person holding the mic on camera, reporting the news. But
Mhm.
from a producer perspective, walk us through a little bit about what is your day to day like?
Oh yeah, I could do that all day. People ask me to go on Instagram. Okay. But so when I come in, depending what shift I do a variety of shows. So I do a normal 8-hour day, a normal 40-hour week, essentially. I come in, I check my emails, I surf through everything, and it could be a minimum of emails, like probably 150. It's usually 200, but it could be more. It just really depends what's
A
going on
day?
a day, yeah. Yeah, it could be more like, and that's just what I'm starting in from overnight. That doesn't count with actually the day. It's probably like 400 to be honest. I would have to actually count that. I might need
So
to do
these
that.
are these like tips or
These are
potential
tips. This is
stories?
this is like tips that we receive. Anyone who's like, hey, we think this might be a good story. This is press releases that we get from hospitals, schools. This is information we get maybe about crime overnight from police stations or fires from the fire department, or just like even events like that people feel like, hey, the community needs to know this. And it could just also be a variety of like, hey, our desk, which is our people who look and surf the web a little bit more than something I might not catch while trying to, get the show together. They might send some emails out like, hey, just an email about this information, might send this email that what's happening in government right now. Like it comes from everybody. Anyone can literally send an email to the newsroom. It's just making sure you weave through to see what is necessary. Obviously, my agendas are sent through there, and like what show everyone's assigned to, what stories that we have assigned to each reporter
Mm-hmm.
who is anchoring the shows. So that starts out like most of the time I go in at 9:30, sometimes 10, sometimes earlier. You just don't
AM or
know.
PM? You're doing overnight, right?
AM,
Okay.
AM.
AM.
Um, Sometimes I might go in at 6 AM. So it really just depends what show I'm doing. Right now I am more focused on the night side. So like you'll probably see most of my product in the 6:30 PM show or the 5 o'clock show for WSMV. So I come in, I surf my emails, then I open up Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything that I have mixed with community stuff or even regional stuff. Um, and then we have this other platform that we're able to look at other neighboring stations to see if they have something that we might not know. And then I have my Google up just in case I'm like, look, like I'll like search up Tennessee or something like that and be like, hey, like, and I mean, even you even have to like monitor the competition, essentially be like, hey, like they got something we don't have. We need to get onto it. So, and I have my teams up. So I'm catching up on some things that might not be emailed that I might need to put in my show and just talking with other producers to be like, hey, like we need to do this. And I'll have my meeting at 9:30 in the morning to talk about this is what we're assigning people. This is what we saw major overnight. This is what we need to continue to follow. This is what we think people need to know. This is what people, are attracted to from the ratings. Um, and then I start from a blank slate template every single day. Like it's empty. The only thing that is in there is the time for breaks, the time that we have slotted for weather. So yeah, like we have time slotted for every single thing. And then like maybe my few graphics. Other than that, I start out and I'm like, what am I gonna put in the show? What does the viewer want to see? What do I know is important? And let's start. And then I have to make sure it doesn't clash with other producers. So I'm constantly like skating, surfing through all those things, and I'm slugging things. Slugging is like titling. You insert something, you have a line for it, and I might slate it at which is like the time. So I'll like mark it as like I'll say the story is like a 20-second read, but it could be longer than that because I'm just guesstimating because you have to be human. I always tell people like your anchors, your reporters are going to be human. They're not necessarily going to follow the time that you have in there, but you got to make sure you're on track of your timing. So that way you're not screwed over in that sense of anything. And so um just doing that, and once I like get all my stories done, I go and find video. I find the best way to showcase it. I look at different camera shots. I wish I had like the whole map to show you all the different camera shots. The studio is amazing which is great for a creative like me because I'm all about visuals. But I
So
also
this
have to.
is so just to jump in here, I have two questions.
Okay.
And then we'll switch to more of your personal journey and then go into like pitching yourself from a producer perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about your process as a producer,
Mm-hmm.
and you've gotten to the point where you're starting to line up the stories and things like that. The two questions that I have: one, how does the news station or you as a news producer determine what the viewers want to see? Because you mentioned ratings before.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part to that question, you were talking about going through all of this footage. So are you describing your editing process? Are you the person that actually sits down and put the videos or the segments together physically with the equipment? Or or is there some type of additional process for that?
So we have a larger team. I do know how to edit. In this position, I'm like, I don't have to edit. However, I have to go through the footage. So I'll answer that question first. So I have to go through the footage to tell my editor what I want. And it's only to be able to give me a little bit more free time to focus on the show. So I'm not like, dang, I have to write this whole show. Cause I write everything from scratch. Like there's nothing to really go off except for like the information. So I'm writing everything from scratch, but while I'm trying to like slate out and like push out some stuff. Sometimes I don't have time to be like, okay, I wrote the script. Now let me edit this clip perfectly to word by word. So I have to go in, watch every video, watch what we call a package. So like something that may have been um recorded like in a bigger scale, but shorten it and just visual like, hey, and I might have to be like, hey, this is what I need to use, this is the video I need to use, this is where it's stored at, this is like the exact time what I want from you, like describing. So it's like I'm writing it down. I know what I want visually, and sometimes I'm like, go ahead and clip it so I can watch it to see if you don't do it how I plan for the viewer to see it, and then I'll go back and I'm like, okay, we're sitting here editing together, because
Mhm.
I'm too hands on personally. So
I'm the same way.
yeah, so I'm like, look, like when that video wasn't how I said to write it in the instructions, did you not see the instructions? Which is okay. It's
You're
all a
just gonna
learning.
go out here and do your own thing, but
Yeah, like each producer does it differently. Like if I had a little bit more time to edit, I would edit my own stuff, in my personal opinion, because I find editing therapeutic. Um, the other question was,
the other question was, how do you determine what the viewers want to see?
so we do a lot of studies every few months. Yeah. So like even how y'all,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, you even how y'all look at like, okay, so we want to know how to get a news person's opinion. We're like, we need a consultant to get y'all's opinion. And a lot of times we like, and I know it's interesting because a lot of people are like, oh my god, there's so crime, it's so doom and gloom, and like people tell you they want to break from that, but the ratings show that everybody wants to know all that. That's why you keep seeing that on the news,
So
and
they're
so
watching. We're watching.
yeah, like y'all are. That's what y'all are watching. That's what skyrockets. Like we could post one story of someone covering, like for example, the child who's missing, right now, who's been missing for a series of weeks, and we've been following that up. That's getting high ratings, just the whole process, which of course is unfortunate and sad because just certain things like that, but like that skyrockets, and you're like, I thought y'all tired of the doom and gloom, even stuff when it comes to the government, just certain things like if how people are valuing abortion, how people are valuing equality, like equality laws, like all those things we like see on a scale, and we're just like, okay, this is what we have that we saw coverage overnight, and this is what was in the top 5 for our people. We got to push that because that's what they want. But we still need to give them everything else. We just might not have a reporter on it. I might, write a story on it, what we call a pacer. I might do like a 20-second snippet, or I might expand it more if we had an interview from an actual person, because we want y'all's voices to be heard, essentially. So we want to make sure we have someone representing y'all in all faces. So yeah, so we do a series of studies every single few months, and we continue to look, and we even see how people do on the web, because everything is becoming digital now too. So we are accessible not on TV only, but on your phone. So just the skyrocket there shows a lot, which is surprising to hear. Like, we want to see that? Yeah, y'all do, unfortunately, which is crazy. And even that process too, showing that we have to think exactly how gruesome can I get, because we have to make sure we don't want to desensitize people. So we have to make sure what you can see is appropriate, or your child can see. A lot of people want to know what's going on in their area, and unfortunately, crime has skyrocketed. So that's one of the main things. It's always gonna be number one, unfortunately. Like,
Wow. That,
mhm,
it definitely makes sense, but it's just interesting to hear from the behind the scenes perspective of how the news and the news cycles work. And I think this will be very helpful for people that just watch the news. It'll be helpful for women who might want to get into the industry, and
mhm.
also for business owners to kind of start wrapping their mind around how to pitch to the news. And again, we're going to save that for a little bit later in the conversation. But I would like to switch gears and talk a little bit more about your personal journey. So there were a lot of themes in your journey to me that's very admirable, because for you to go to school, jump right in and start producing and learning all the things, have 1 year of experience down in Texas, and then say, you know what, I'm going to jump on this opportunity and move to Nashville, and then go from, like you said, a smaller market to one that is more grueling as far as, the work that you have to do and the experience you have to have. So I would like to know a little bit more about some of the challenges and setbacks and things that you've had to face when it comes to being a news producer. And how do you balance all of this as a young Black woman who has, to me, it's a sense of responsibility in a way?
Yeah, I'm gonna blame older child syndrome.
Oh, me too, girl. You the
I'm
oldest.
the oldest daughter.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. So
I'm the
I
oldest
already
for my
know.
yeah, I'm the oldest for my mom. So definitely a lot of pressure on that. I think which was funny because one of my best friends is a psychiatrist, and she was saying like the statistics on how like likely you will run into somebody who is in media, is a news producer. She's like, it's very low. And she's like, I don't even know how y'all know each other. I was like, LinkedIn. Like everything about this industry is about connections and the lasting impressions you make. Because you never know who you're gonna run into. And like I'm great to make such a good impression, or just to make a lasting impression that I didn't even know it was good. I just thought it was just being a student. Um, to where someone saw something in me that I was yet to see in myself. And it was all about taking risk, really. I struggle a lot to take risk with myself, especially as a Black woman, young. Like I started straight out of college. Like that's very young. I was what, like, well, like you graduate like at what, 22, 23. So like I was very young, and then to make a jump a year in and still be in my early 20s, I'm like, am I sure about this? Like, am I right for this? And I was just like, well, God, like my faith is what I lean on the most. It like see something. I have people who support me in my corner who are seeing something I'm not seeing yet. Like my bosses are saying something, like clear it's a risk to take. And just when I tell people my age, they're like, what? And you work where? And I'm like, yeah. And it doesn't help that I look super young. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't help. Like I'm always gonna look like I'm in high school or like my early, college days. But it was really the challenge of I might be young. Um there might be so many odds against me as a woman, as a Black woman on top of that, but I can do this. Like, this opportunity wasn't granted to me just because it's like, we just need people. Like, I don't believe I don't believe in quantity over quality. And I was like, no, I want to be the person that you're like, this is a quality person. So I took the initiative anytime there was the spare opportunity to take overtime, to learn, to ask the questions, because I'm not a person who asks. Again, older child syndrome. Like I feel like I learn and I'll stick it out. But I was asking like, hey, like how can I do this? How can I learn this? What can I do? What can I improve? Because I came here super green. I didn't There was a lot that I thought I may have known that I felt like from my first job, but I really didn't. And
Isn't that interesting? Like,
mhm,
it's the difference between knowing and doing and, like, putting into practice. So for
mhm.
you as a creative, what were some of the things that you had to reconcile?
I had to like make sure for myself because I didn't have such a creative space to learn in it, like a smaller market. Um, it's true, like each station is different, or just each job is different. Some resources are just different. I didn't have such a vast space. I didn't have a lot of opportunities to even be critiqued on my work. Um, and so that was learning to like not be hard on myself on the criticism, because that's what I was asking for. Like I need to know, because no one was teaching me that off bat. Like I was told I was doing good in that position. And I was doing good for that market at the time. I was like, they saw something in me to promote me in 3 weeks. Like where I was like, girl, I'm not ready. Like, why are we doing this? But the job itself, and I know some jobs like this, I don't want to say it's just news, but it's really like sink or swim.
That's
I,
life.
like that's life for sure. And there is like, if you don't know how to adapt, I had to learn to be adaptable, like quickly. There was no, I need to panic. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Like, if I was gonna panic, it was after I got it done.
Right. At
Because
night,
I'm
you
like,
like, "Woo."
how did I do that? And my first, it wasn't even, I wouldn't even say my first year here, like my first 6 months, there was so much craziness happening. And I was like, oh, I just thought I was chilling. Like, what do you mean I have to go wall to wall? What is that? Like, I never had the opportunity. What is like having to do this live shot? Like, what is this? Like, what is all these things? Things that like I knew and I studied, but I wasn't in it. I wasn't in the thick of it. And a lot of things was like, you're in the thick of it. But I have people like, baby, it's gonna sink or swim, but I'll help you pedal. Like I'm gonna, and that was good to have. Until where it was like, I think you got it. And I'm like, do I? Do I have it? Where's the floaties?
Not the
But
floaties.
yeah, the floaties, because like you hear the squeak, like what? Like, um, it was really learning that one person's good is different from someone else's good. Like, and knowing that I had to be adaptable to that because I was like, I was told I was good, but then here, like, it might be like, you're okay. And I'm like,
Mhm,
well, I don't want to be okay. I want to be good. I want to be more than good. I want to be great. So how
mhm.
do I get there?
Right.
And when you're working with so many different people, the higher you go up from different places, they have so much different knowledge too. So I was in a room where it wasn't just talking um to like my executive producers, who are the people over me who look at my stuff and help me like give me the one like, hey, like maybe you need to stack it like this. Maybe you should put this in your show, because those people have more experience than me. Like they were like, I'll take you under my wing and okay. And then even talking to my anchors, because in that environment, a lot of times people feel like, okay, it's just the one position. You don't have that freedom. But me sitting in the middle of the newsroom, which I literally sit right in the middle, I have the room to walk and be like, hey, can you look at this show? Can you tell me how to write this script? Can you give me some pointers? How would you showcase it? I need different pair of eyes because sometimes my eyes might be a little rusty. And that's okay. I didn't have, as I said, it was a smaller market and there was nothing wrong with it. I appreciate it. It got me where I'm at now. But I didn't have all these resources I have now. And knowing to be able to like actually utilize it, because I know people like, I have the resources, but I'm only using a quarter of it. No, use all of it.
Mhm,
All of it. As I said, I'm like, I make sure I know everybody. I don't care where you're at in the building, whether you're upstairs selling the slots, whether you are editing, whether you're out in the field reporting direct. Like I don't care. I'm asking to learn whatever because it helps me to see how to make your job easier and how it flows cohesively. Because I'm not doing those positions anymore. Like I haven't done all those positions every single day like I did in college. So I'll be like, hey, can you send me how you do the directing stuff? Teach me a little bit, the little one too, so I'm able to understand better. Um, I'll go into master control, like how do we do this so I know how what y'all are seeing? Like help me
mhm.
time, help me do back math. How are you editing this? What made you think that I should edit it this way? Like let me know so I can see that. Um, it was a lot, and it was a challenge to be able to work with different people's flows. Like, your flow is not the right way. And a lot of people get consumed in that, but this is a job that is definitely like an adrenaline rush and definitely, like, pushes you, and the anxiety of it all is a lot too. But you have to be able to adapt because it's not gonna be perfect. There's been so many times I
Yeah.
had the perfect show. Like, after I finished writing, showcasing, and I was like, "Oh, we're done." It's gonna go on air and it's like everything just got blown up because breaking news. I'm like, are you serious? Like, oh,
Yeah.
what I did 8 hours of this for 2 seconds of this, and like, and so but it's like knowing how to navigate and make those things look good because like stuff happens and like your director's like, hey, what are we doing? And I'm like, we're doing this. Like you have to be confident. Their job taught me to be confident in myself. I couldn't shy away anymore. It was like really like, babes, you're not hiding. Like you think you're hiding because you're behind the scenes, but you're up front and center. You're literally, as I always tell people, I'm the boss lady behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm the one who tells people like this is what's gonna be in the show. Unless you see something else, you have another opinion or you want to do it, like,
This is
no,
what we're doing.
this is what we're
Okay.
doing.
So, it's interesting that this is your journey and perspective because I can relate to this. I am not in the news industry, and I've transitioned from corporate America working as a financial analyst to being a full-time entrepreneur. But there are so many things that you said that is directly parallel to my experience as an entrepreneur. Being able to be adaptable because things go crazy all the time in the world when you're running a business, but also like you said, getting rid of the well, okay, because this might not just be like a older sibling problem,
Yeah.
but if you're someone who struggles with asking for help, assistance, mentorship, if you're afraid to basically look like you don't have it all together or you don't know everything, that really puts a roadblock in your journey, no matter what you're doing. And I feel like that's something that I can relate to. So the fact that you are in your industry, you're jumping right in, and then you're saying, okay, y'all, teach me your ways. And you're utilizing every single resource that's available to you. That's something that, even whether you're a creator, entrepreneur, or in your career like you, that's something to learn from. Because back in my day, when I started with my first job straight out of college, y'all, I was so afraid to ask questions. I would be sending these meetings like, yeah, I have it together. Uh-huh, yes. And they'd be like, do you have any questions? I'd be like, nope. And then and then now we're into the project and I'm stressed out with anxiety because I don't really know what I'm doing and I'm too afraid to let people know that because of all of the pressure that I'm putting on myself. So if you don't take anything out of what Tegan's experience is or what she's saying, I think the one thing that you should focus on is the fact that the sooner you are comfortable with embracing, wisdom from other people, that's gonna be the fast track for you.
I love to learn. So like that's just one of those things. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still waver sometimes. Like they'll be like, you got questions? I'm like, no. And then like 15 minutes, I'm like, actually,
You know what? I
I
do.
do have this question. Oh. And like my boss will be like, Tegan, like ask for help. And I'm like, I thought I had it 15
Don't
minutes ago. So it's still a learning process. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, I think it's learning to be vulnerable. Like your vulnerability is your strength. Like knowing that you're like, I need help. I know people feel so weak with it, but that's not weakness at all. It's you're taking the courage to do it. You're very brave for doing it. And that's just something I remind myself every single day when it comes to working. So like,
I love that. I love that. So let's switch gears a little bit more
yeah.
and talk about pitching to the media. Now, if
Okay.
you've been listening to this episode or watching this episode and you're a business owner or somebody that just wants more visibility, I know you're tuning in like, okay, what's the answer to this question? But the question that I have for you, Tegan, is as a news producer, from the person that's actually putting together the story, I want you to tell me two things. One, what do you find that most people are doing wrong when they are trying to pitch to the media or the news and get their story picked up? And then two, as a producer, from your perspective, what should I be doing when I am pitching to you or trying to put a story together? How does that, if you're a producer, what are you looking for?
I feel like I feel like what people get wrong is a lot of times they go into this like big explanation. I'm sorry, I had to think. This is me thinking. I'm like, but look, because I'm like, but I'm sorry. Okay, but I feel like a lot of people just they go on this big explanation before getting to the nitty gritty on why we need to know their story.
What
Your
does the
story is
explanation mean?
like we get things called press releases.
Right.
And so you might have a title that I'm like, okay, cool. I'll look over it, but it's not selling who you are. It's not selling like, and then I'm like reading the first few sentences. And I'm like, okay, so why do I need to know this?
This is
And,
dry. Is that
and
what you're
it's
trying to
been,
say?
yeah, it's dry. I am so sorry to everyone who's in the press release, but it's dry. And like, and it takes me, and I really try to stick through and read it because we're moving so fast. I told you I get like hundreds of emails a day.
You
I don't have
actually try to read it all? I've
I
heard
try to
I've
read
heard
it
people
because I mean
say
someone took the time to send it. But that's just me. I'm not saying that's every single producer. That's just me personally
that's
as a
so
person.
sweet.
And I'm like, it took me getting to paragraph number 3 for you to tell your story. Um, no. Like the same way you would come up to somebody and tell them about your business and like how passionate you are off the bat, I want you to email me, text me as if you're having a conversation and you're selling what you love because your story makes everything. And I want to know why your story matters. A lot of people aren't like, they'll be like, I think this because, we did since I was a little girl. Like, and I'm like, okay, cool. You're a little, like, yeah, like you've had a dream. We all do. Like, and I know that sounds so, I'm not trying to, but I'm
Y'all
being
can't see
honest.
me. I'm cracking up because she's
Like,
right.
like, get to the point, because why does your story matter to the community? What is your community doing for, like, what does it do? You're working for a community. Everyone's brand or business, they have a goal at the end of the day. We as the media are making sure your voice is being heard. We got to make sure it relates to the community. If what you're selling me is not going to actually like affect anybody, but it might affect two people, I'm sorry. Like, I can't do anything about that. Um, you got to get straight to the point, and you have to sell yourself. Literally, you know how they say, like, if you send a resume in for a job and like they look at the first like 2 seconds and they're done. That's literally what we do. It's
So,
still,
so let's talk about what a good story is, because I think, and I can relate to this. Well, I can relate to this, but now that I'm further into my journey of like knowing who I am and why my story is important, it was a lot harder early on to figure out, why does my story matter? So, from your perspective, give an example of a great story.
oh, wait, I should. Oh,
Well,
Jesus.
or at least some qualities of it, because like you're saying, like, tell your story, right? But well, I was gonna say, can I be an example?
Yeah, you could be an example. Like,
Okay. So Greg and I are coming out with this book, The Art of Love and Business, right? 7 secrets to go from pillow talk to profit talk. We host the festival Shop Black Fest. We've helped over 4,000 business owners, and Shop Black Fest is coming to your town this year. That's all I got.
I'm looking like,
So
I
from
think for me, the line, like, going from like pillow talk, so I was like, what?
profit, oh,
Like, if it's catchy, because I'll like look through my email, like, huh?
pillow
Like, what you
talk.
mean? Like, I want like your slug of the email or the press release, like, really will catch the attention. Um, like how you said the numbers on how many businesses you help. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you're making movements here. You're doing these things. So like that grabbed my attention. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the podcast. I'm not. I'm not.
No, tell me the truth, girl. Coach me.
But like, I'm like, okay, I need to know exactly how many people have been impacted by your story so far. Why is this the title? Because that's like pillow talk. Like what? Like what? Like, hmm. So, it's getting good. For example, I had a nonprofit reach out to me recently, who is working to give back to the community, and food deserts, which are essentially
Mm.
areas that are struggling, to feed people. And it's really small. They're just, a regular grocery experience. You come in, you get everything that you need probably for free. They give you a receipt to essentially, tell you, no one better tell my story because this could be a story. But like, the receipt to like kind of help, motivate family, like, this is what you got for free, this is how much it would have cost in the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just so you can prepare when you're in a more financially stable area. But where that's lacking at is, I'm like, okay, what are you basing off of? Like, what stores? Are you doing all stores? Are you doing Publix? Are you doing Kroger? Like, I need to know how you're able to give these people a financial estimate on like what they're going to have, because that's a big deal. And I want to know exactly how you're able to have families. And if you are collabing with the people, who are you collabing with? Are these big name nonprofits? Like, um, that makes me ask a lot of questions. How frequently do these families come in? How many families have you helped? How long, like, what was the first year of the program like compared to now? Like, I know they're working to double it, and they've helped hundreds of families. So it's like, okay, that pulls my heartstrings, but I also know something that's going on in the community is livelihood. Like, it's a struggle to even live. It's a struggle to
Mm-hmm.
feed yourself. It's a struggle to pay rent. And so I'm like, well, these people do need to have a source if they need to go get food if they're down and out at some situation. But I need to see if it's actually being effective. I need to see that. You can tell me you're helping hundreds of families, but what, like, exactly what hundreds families, how are you doing this? How you can, and like they basically cover most of the expenses. Um, which is phenomenal. And they were just like, even big names I've heard they worked with, like, they're like, yeah, Belmont, it's a Belmont. What does Belmont
Mm.
have to do with this? Like, all about the connections. I really economy is like really affecting a lot of people. So like that's I'm like, okay, cool, but I need to dig deeper.
Mhm.
Um, that's just how they told me, like, hey, like this is our story. We're trying to feed people in food deserts. I'm like, food deserts, okay, cool. And I'm like thinking in my head, what food deserts do we have in the middle, like in mid state? I'm like, okay, we have this here, North Nashville. I was like, oh yeah, like the mayor just spoke on this like a couple weeks ago. So this is convenient that you're okay.
So just to recap what you're saying, because I think these are great points. So you're saying, of course, because most press releases that I've seen, they just tell like the who, what, when, where,
Mm-hmm.
very basic. Oh, there's an announcement. Oh, we're having an event. But what you're saying is not only tell your why and back it up with the numbers and the impact, but also talk about um how you're executing this like with realistic data and talking about the people who need what it is that you're providing and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that it's relevant to either you as the producer and the stories that you're putting out there or the area that you're in. And so it sounds like you're saying if you can pitch your story in a way that makes it easier for the producer to be like curious about it, then you're in a win-win kind of situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, we go through so many emails. We don't want to struggle. I don't think anyone wants to struggle to understand stuff. Something that like I was always taught when it came to even writing for the news is like try to write on a seventh grade level, even younger than that, because people are like listening on the go sometimes. They're not always watching. You don't want to use like some big word and they're like, huh? No, I'm
Mhm.
tuned out. So the same way I would write news to make it easy for you to understand, even your child to understand what's going on in the world, I need the same thing for the experience. Um, because at the end of the day, we have to fact check everything. We have to make sure everything's real. I don't wanna do a story that's like, yeah, this might be something good, but like where's the facts? And I want to study the facts because we will dig deep into that too. Down the rabbit hole. I don't want to just your story, not saying anyone's story is not important because it is, but the numbers don't lie, the proof doesn't lie. I at the end of the day, I want to talk to the real people you're helping. I don't want to just talk to you. I want to talk to actual people because I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm talking to you, but can you get one of your families here?
So would you put that in the email? So if I was pitching to you, would I say, okay, this is the story in the press release, but then do I put in the email, talk to such, and these are our partners, or do you actually put that information into the press release as a part of the story?
Sometimes if you know it's a collab project, you will put like a lot of times we'll get for example the Red Cross. So like the Tennessee Titans and the Red Cross are partnering up for a blood drive. The Tennessee Titans, okay, cool. All right, Red Cross, okay, cool. Why? Oh, the initiative, there's a major blood shortage. Okay, cool. Like, where's it gonna be accessible to? How many people are we helping? How low is the shortage? How many donations can do well with those things? When it comes to the whole just who you're gonna be talking to, it's iffy depending on the producer. For me, it's like if you tell me if you're collabing with someone big, especially someone that everyone knows across the nation, that could do something already. I already know that I'm going to try to talk to you first and then this person. Say we were at an event that you were hosting, right? I'm talking to you, but then you have everyone you invited to the event that are also a part of it. I can go out there and interview them and talk to them myself on that situation. Um, because I want it to be natural. I don't want you to be like, okay, I reached out to this person. She knows she's gonna talk to you, and then like, because a lot of people get like,
They start to get real
they
shy,
get
camera
shy,
shy.
and so it's just kind of like I want it to be a natural experience. A lot of people don't know, at least me, if they ever see me out. Um, I'm if they ever see me out, I'm constantly actually searching for people. Like they don't know. Like you could just tell me your story. Like people are always pitching to me and they don't know that.
Oh, I remember I remember you saying this to me because you'll just like be at events or be out there and you'll be like, just people just be talking to you and telling you their story. And you'll be like, hmm.
And I'll ask further questions, and then that's when they're like, "Oh, wait, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a news producer." Like, "What?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, this whole time I was listening to you. Like, I just want to see what your initiative is. Like, I want to see what it's doing for the community. I'm seeing the outcome here. I'm here. Like, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the proof here. I don't need to see the numbers right now. Um, and I know that's that kind of like, girl, you're off the clock. You don't have to always do that, but you don't know who you're gonna help. You don't know who you're gonna run into. That's something I learned in college. Like, I don't know who I'm networking to. So like, people are constantly networking to me, whether they know it or not.
right. Okay. So we are nearing the close of this conversation. Me and you, we could talk, girl.
Mhm.
So I want to talk a little bit about career growth, and then we're going to do the quick fire round and then close out with the final thought from you.
Okay.
So when it comes to your career, what advice would you give to an aspiring um person who wants to work in news production?
Ooh.
Also, what are some of the key skills or traits that they should have? Like you mentioned adaptability and being, open and willing to like jump in and take risk and ask for help. But is there anything else that you would suggest for someone who's aspiring to be in your shoes?
Dang, I'm trying to think where I was at when I was 18 walking into this thing. Um, I think something I would let someone know when it comes to being is like inspiring to this, like you have to be willing to try in all avenues. You can't limit yourself to only one position in media. Because that's what usually ends up happening. A lot of people let this dream die because they want to be in front of TV, but you'll be surprised what you end up loving. So don't limit yourself because you might be amazing in other elements. And if you're able to open doors for yourself in those ways, you'll be able to open to doors to your first initial goal. Um, so keep trying, especially because this job is very competitive. Again, it's like networking, but don't let anyone like tell you like you probably shouldn't be in that position. Because I've had people tell me that before. And so
Wait, you've had people tell you that you shouldn't be in the position that you're in?
just because of the growth. Like, like as I said, I was green. Um, a lot of people don't always understand whether it's in college, whether it's in real life. Um, I you might be like, "What you mean? I'm not?" Because clearly someone saw something in me, but then you don't fight yourself in that way. You show them where your work ethic is at. Um,
I know that's right.
and so that's where I do. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I got you. Look at this newscast. Like,
Yeah.
look what I'm doing. So don't let anyone tell you like, oh, you want to go to Dallas, which is like a number 5. That's a high market. You can't go to Dallas out of college. Let me show you. I got you. Because I've known so many people who just went straight out of college, going straight to Dallas. Something I know that I probably would have got blessed with opportunity if, a year later because of how the doors opened up. But I'm like, no, this is where my journey was to be at. Don't limit yourself either. Like as I said, not just to like the career aspects because you might have one passion in like this one thing, but even where you might be at. Because I was limiting myself to Texas and I'm in Tennessee now, somewhere I never planned to be, somewhere I never even been. And
You
I've
had
and I,
never been here before?
mm, and I had 3 weeks to move to somewhere I've never been.
That's amazing.
I just went off of like my dad went to school here, my grandparents went to school here. Like clearly there's something about it magical. Like hopefully I see it, and like that's what kept me going. Like they saw something, I want to see something too, and that's what I've done. I've seen the beauty of it. Not from a college standpoint, but I was able to see that. I think as skills wise, I think that's everything that covers it pretty much
Yeah.
because what all the field is. Um, in my opinion, just being adaptable, open because a lot of people are very close minded when it comes to like how they are and like especially taking criticism, like that could be harsh. Um, if you got anxiety like me, learn how to navigate that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to navigate. I know that's not supposed to be funny. I'm sorry. I know how to navigate,
It's the
but like,
truth. Sometimes you gotta laugh because anxiety and stress is real, and it doesn't matter, like I said, whether you're in your career like you are or building a business like I am. I have to find ways to cope that are healthy.
hmm and I think that's it. Like, I'm trying to go off of what I was even told from college. Like,
Yeah.
it was really just told not to limit myself because as I said, I originally wanted to be in entertainment, in front of the TV, and then now I'm like, I'm good.
I like it. I like it back here
I'm,
behind the scenes
I'm
running the
good.
show.
Like, I don't
Okay.
mind if someone wants me in front of the camera. Like, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, would it be for news? No, definitely not for me. Not with my personality for sure. But and that's okay. I was surprised with how much I fell in love with being behind the scenes because I got to see the magic happen every single day in a different way, and I got to be a major part of it.
Right. I love that. So let's go into the quick fire round.
Okay,
Are
I'm scared.
you are you ready? Don't be scared.
No, I'm not, but we'll go
Okay.
for it.
So the rules are you got 5 seconds to think of an answer, less than 5 seconds to think of an answer, and keep going. Are you ready? Here we
Yeah.
go.
Go.
All right. So the first question: what is your favorite destination that you've ever visited?
New York City.
Ooh, see, easy. Top 3 items on your bucket list.
Bungee jumping, riding a jet ski, and swimming with dolphins. If I know how to swim. If I know how to swim.
Look, me and you both have to learn. Okay. All right. Favorite TV show, guilty pleasure.
Ooh, Love is Blind right now, slash Too Hot to Handle. Don't know why it's trash TV. Guilty pleasure, anything soul food, any food. I love to eat. I love to eat. I love to eat.
Ooh,
Uh,
okay. You're a foodie. Okay, so if you had a superpower for one day, what would that superpower be?
Telepathy.
Huh?
Telepathy.
Ooh, that's good. Okay, so just reading other people's minds or being able to control people with your mind.
Oh no, I don't want to like as someone who's look, I'm relinquishing control. Like I've been telling me like I was telling people I gotta relinquish it. I just want to be able to read people's minds to make sure I'm making sure that their voices are heard correctly. And that way I don't waste my time because some people out here they go play some games and I ain't got time for it.
Okay. All right, last quick fire round question, okay? What is your daily ritual or something in your routine that helps you have a successful day?
I listen to was it the Black Girl Burnout podcast every morning, or I do the prayer app, or I read Ephesians to remind myself to put on my armor every single day. Was it Ephesians 6? Yeah. Like the armor of God. Um, and then, walking and loving on my dog.
I love that. Yeah, so wait, you made me want to answer that question. So I journal. I have an affirmation journal. I use the Bible app. Um, I love to walk my dog as well. That's like something I really look forward to. I don't know why, girl. I don't know why that's a thing, but it's like it's the
It's
happiest part of my
tranquil.
day.
It's tranquil until they start acting up. And now you're like,
Right.
yeah.
Then you gotta go. You gotta go back home. Okay. So let's close out with a final word for the cool girls, the aspiring creators out there. If you could leave a final word of advice to the women that are listening to this podcast, they're chasing their dreams, they're trying to figure it all out, and they may even be the next news producer or anchor, what advice would you give them?
Ooh. I just was talking therapy today. Don't count yourself out. Take the risk regardless of what it may look like. Because you never know what doors will open. Your name's already in rooms that you don't even know. So if you feel that door's there, go ahead and open it. You'll be surprised.
I love that. It really reminds me of that saying that your gifts will make room for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so even with you listening to your story, you just went for things that you were passionate about and you ended up in a career that you enjoy. And so I think that that's great advice because, again, whether you are in one place or another as far as your career, it's so, 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 so important to take risks, go for it, and don't give yourself a glass ceiling. So
Mhm. Snaps for that. Poetry night right here.
I know that's right. Oh, get the snap.
Look.
Okay, so this has been a great conversation, Tegan. Feel free to come back at any time. I love kikiing with my fellow creators. Um, thank you all for tuning in for this episode of the Cool Girls Create podcast. Your favorite host, Tanisha Westbrook, and Tegan, signing out.
Bye.